Boxing Truth here, back with another video. Make sure to smash that like button, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Alright, let's talk about actual boxing, not some positive tests about a fight no one cared about before the findings. Let's talk about Conor Benn's performance today against another step-up opponent in his still relatively early career. Adrian Granados. Most likely is going to get a decision. Just finished watching it, but still a lot of work to be done in the career of Conor Benn. We found out a lot more today, and Conor Benn is just going to be another Matchroom hype job unless he drastically improves in a lot of weaknesses in the areas of his game, which is mostly defensively. Now I can see in this fight why Matchroom are taking their time with Conor Benn. I mean, in his very early in his career, he was almost knocked out by a journeyman. Since then, he's improved when it comes to conditioning, his physicality. He has decent power, decent speed, decent ability, but defensively, very weak, very flawed. A decent counterpuncher, and especially a decent puncher, will expose this cat. So Matchroom has to be very careful. They have to tread carefully on how they matchmake Conor Benn going forward, because he's not ready for any legitimate contender. That is why Matchroom is matching him with non-punchers, 40-pounders like Granados, or washed, faded guys like Vargas, who are not big punchers. That's why they haven't made the David Avanesian fight just yet. I mean, it's interesting. Matchroom, with the way Matchroom is moving Conor Benn and the way they move Josh Kelly. I mean, look how they moved Josh Kelly. I mean, they fast-tracked him. They fast-tracked him towards, world level and title contendership. I mean, the guy was fighting very experienced guys, very capable guys like Ray Robinson very early in his career. And then they matched him with a legitimate contender against David Avanesian, and they found out he wasn't able to swim in that level, wasn't able to swim with the Sharks, and got dealt with and stopped. But against a legitimate top 10 world-class contender in David Avanesian. I see the same fate for Conor Benn if and when he does make that jump. That's why Matchroom's talking about Adrian Broner and Amir Khan. Guys with names that are faded and are beatable. And they're not talking about true step-ups against legitimate contenders just yet. It wasn't an impressive performance. I mean, it was a workman-like type fight. Granados is a survivor. Only been stopped once, but he's really a sparring partner these days. He doesn't have that winning mentality. He hasn't had a big win in years. And the more L's you take, the more of a sparring mentality you're going to have, which is what Granados has. But he made Ben look what he was, which is barely above average. I don't see anything special in Ben. I don't see a high ceiling, but he does have a name. He's got a famous father, and he does have some decent ability, but they have to really be careful on how they match him going forward. He won't be fighting any punchers or any counter punchers anytime soon, and it's hard to say how Matchroom deals with him, because he can't beat the top guys, can't even beat a legitimate contender in my eyes. So they're going to look for name fighters that are wash enough to beat. But yeah, there are plenty of guys that could beat Conor Benn in the welterweight division. And I would even pick Florian Marku possibly to beat Conor Benn, which is why that fight ain't being made just yet. Because that's possibly, I mean, judging by how they're matching Ben, they obviously don't believe in him that much. They definitely don't believe in him, and I don't blame him. He needs to get a lot better if he's going to challenge for any world title or even challenge a legitimate top 10 contender and come out successful. We'll see where he goes from here. It's really stops the momentum that he had. He's going to come back down to earth. Let's pump the brakes. And let's see where he goes from here. But don't see a high ceiling. But he will be in some... There's definitely some doable fights, makeable fights, and entertaining fights that he could be in, that he could possibly win. If he's going to take an L, he might as well get the biggest payday out of it, which is what Matchroom is going to try to do. What big payday is out there? What's the biggest risk out there that's worth it for Conor Benn? Is it Florian Marku? Maybe not. Is it Adrian Broner, which I think he could win? Is it Amir Khan? Another fight I think he could win, but I don't see those fights happening. So it's hard to say where they move.